Yo, it's Will Marcus and Morsini back with another video. Today we're going to be covering COD Mobile versus Warzone Mobile Battle Royale Edition. Kind of just doing a side-by-side comparison of the two game modes since they are direct competitors. And we're going to exclude multiplayer from both Warzone Mobile and COD Mobile. That'll be saved for a different time, as well as zombies. And then we will not include Undead Siege, even though that's on the COD and BR map. That's a zombies game mode, so we will not be including that in this either. That being said, we're kind of going to hop through good, bad, ugly, fun, what sucks, and some of the things that are close between the two game modes, overall gameplay and things of that nature, as well as some future additions that could be coming to the game modes via previous console titles and when they sort of line up with the COD-M lifecycle as well as the Warzone Mobile lifecycle, which is still going in terms of like on the console side. So weapons we could see come, maps we'll see come, things of that nature that were more aligned with the Warzone Mobile side from leaks and just knowledge off the dome. So starting off the top, gunplay and guns overall being fun to use in both games. This is a good thing for both games here. I think the gunplay in both of these games, and like YYing and switching your weapons, how they feel, how they shoot, recoil patterns. Not every gun necessarily feels like a laser beam. Like guns actually have visual recoil and actual recoil. And there are guns that are laser beams, obviously, and there should be some that are. But not every gun just shoots insanely straight, which is something we'll talk about when we hit to the multiplayer side. Now, another thing that I think is a good thing for COD Mobile, we'll kind of jump into that, is it's got a lot of replay value through the BR classes. So Warzone Mobile doesn't have a BR class system, but COD Mobile does. So the BR class system is like what you see up here in the top of my screen with the little remote control up there. That's for misdirection, which I'm using now. That's why I have waves on my screen. And this is just a special ability that allows you to get an advantage in gunfights, right? I have an unsuppressed weapon, but now that I have this specialist class, now it's silenced. When I shoot at people, my footsteps are silenced and it disorients other enemies. And so when they hear footsteps, it could be me, but it sounds like I'm to their right when I'm really to their left. So the actual BR class system has a ton of replay value. There are like 30 classes, I believe like 5 in each class, and there's like 6 of them. So that allows for a lot of replay value since most of them are useful in their own ways and some of them are just kind of cheesy like the dogs. That being said, the class system is a huge W for the COD Mobile side since it's just something that's like people have always kind of wanted to know on the console side of Call of Duty what it would be like to have had Blackout with specialists, right? Or to have Verdansk with specialists and how that would be. And would it be feasible? Would they just be completely broken and not reasonable to have? Things of that nature. How would it perform? And COD Mobile kind of gives you that sort of thought process where you can kind of see how they are. There's a reason we don't have like the Claw or Gravity Vortex gun. That's kind of ridiculous. It's overkill. There should be a way like the Annihilator where it's a viable option to implement that into the game without it being completely broken. Like the Annihilator doesn't kill in one shot in BR. It takes a couple shots. So that helps. That being said, let's jump into the COD Mobile benefits, right? It's got a rank system, so you can hit Legendary in COD Mobile BR. So whereas Warzone Mobile, there is no rank system at all in the game in any mode. So that is kind of a W for the COD Mobile side. That allows people to want to grind for something and keep coming back to the game because they enjoy it and they have something to grind for. They got something to play for. It's fun for them. The randomness of the BR classes, just to kind of hop into that one more time with how it impacts gameplay, because the BR classes are like, just out of nowhere somebody goes invisible, or out of nowhere they glitch back if they're running that one. Shockwave, or super cheesy ones like Mechanic, which just goes and flies at you and it just completely disorients you. You can't shoot your gun straight anymore. It's just like, it's like gas grenades essentially, but it's a drone. So stuff like that, it's really annoying and random and stupid. It doesn't necessarily show skill or give them like a it just gives them a free kill. It's too good. It needs to be toned back a little bit. That being said, we got some good maps. Let's dive into the maps with COD Mobile here. We got Blackout, Isolated, Alcatraz, and Cry. So we've got 2 big maps and 2 smaller maps, right? Cry and Alcatraz. What you're seeing here in this gameplay is in fact Cry. So this is one of these smaller maps. It's a little bit bigger than Alcatraz, but it's definitely smaller than Isolated and Blackout. It's a solid overall map. I think most people think it's good. A lot of people tend to have a sort of bias towards Isolated, I guess because it was in the game when it came out. So everybody just thinks Isolated is the best map ever of all time in any game ever. And that's insane. That being said, we also have Blackout. BO4 nostalgia coming in here, but Blackout's phenomenal. I think that's the best BR map Call of Duty's ever seen. And it will probably be that case for a long time. So Blackout, I absolutely love Blackout. It's got a lot of features from previous Call of Duty maps, which could be, it's got features from like Asylum on Blackout is Verrucht from Call of Duty World at War in 2008 on console. So that's something like that's really unique. I also believe the maze is from Buried. It kind of looks just like that one, except it's been switched up a little bit and it's in the daylight and whatnot. So that's dope. There's also maps like Array that are on there. Nuketown, Hijacked, Cargo from BO2. So there's a lot of sort of nostalgia hidden into that Blackout map. Raid is also on there. There's just a lot of good things about it that I think aren't shown necessarily. The POIs on Blackout are great. The POIs on Isolated are also good, with Bus Station, which is essentially transit. For anybody who played Black Ops 2 Zombies, it's pretty much transit. That bus station is kind of the exact same layout. That being said, it's also got some other interesting features added to the game for good quality of life changes, with the big yellow, I guess, building that hangs over a certain part of the map in every game that you can land on. It has advanced level loot and a helicopter. That's cool. It's a big attraction for real players. Now that we're diving into that, let's talk about real players. Both these games have a problem, and this is the problem with every mobile BR game ever made, ever. Right? Rules Survival, PUBG, Apex Legends, Fortnite, they all have bots. It just is what it is. It's hard to have the player base strong enough to do it to where you don't have bots, but still have reasonable queue times. Right? You actually need 100 people to get into a lobby. You know what I mean? You're going to have to wait you're going to have to wait a few minutes. Whereas COD Mobile says, screw that, we'll just add the bots in and you'll have to kill, there'll be 10 real people on the map and 90 bots, right? And it'll just play that way. And that can be, people don't like that, generally speaking, but it is just the way mobile games have been for a really long time. So it is what it is. You just kind of deal with it. And it's a problem in every mobile BR. And something that probably doesn't really get fixed until one day it could happen where you'll start getting like 4-minute queue times and you'll just have to wait, and eventually you'll finally get into a game, but then you'll be finding real people, so people will be turned away because they won't do good in that game, and then now they got to wait another 4 minutes to get into a game with real people and just do the cycle again because they're not good at gaming. So obviously they don't want their customers to leave their game, so having bots in kind of keeps them motivated to keep playing and whatnot. That being said, let's talk about loadouts in both COD Mobile and Warzone Mobile. So as you see in this gameplay, I have this MG42 with rapid fire and rapid fire barrel. It shoots insanely, absurdly fast. And Gunsmith was not really a thing in the beginning of the life cycle of COD Mobile. We didn't have Gunsmith, right? So you couldn't add 5 attachments. You just had to pick stuff up off the ground of your gun. In the beginning, it was just a normal old BR. There wasn't a loadout at all. So they kind of added that in there a few years later, and people seem to enjoy it. Gives them a reason to actually continue to play the game, and it adds a lot of replay value. So that's good. Replay value is a very important aspect of both these games. You got to be able to, the game needs to be fun, and there's got to be something that keeps you coming back. And both these games have that in so many different ways. Looting in both these games, also very enjoyable. Just a little side note, like the customizability, I guess you could say, of both looting in Warzone Mobile and COD Mobile is absurd. There's so much you can do with actual looting in these games. It is actually insane. That is something I wanted to sort of side note off of that. When you're looting like other people's weapons or guns and like Warzone Mobile that have a couple attachments on it, like you can see the type of thing in game. Whereas in COD Mobile, you can't actually see that. You just pick up the gun and it is what it is. Warzone Mobile, you can see what attachments are on these guns. That being said, I also want to talk about the Arsenal boxes in COD Mobile versus the Warzone Mobile actual loadout drops. So Warzone Mobile, it has the same basic Warzone 1 2019 loadout system where you have to call in a drop. You could get enough money early on in the game to call in a drop the drop, pick it up, get your loadout gun that way. Whereas COD Mobile has the Arsenal boxes. So until one of those lands on the ground, which it can land at any, I think it lands at like the 4-minute mark of like after the first circle or something like that. So it takes a while. You're going to be running around with ground loot for a minute until that thing comes down. And then once you get that thing to come down, then you're probably going to have to fight the other real team on the map in order to get your guns, right? Because you'll both be racing there. If the other team gets there first, you might be screwed, right? You're just going to push them anyway and see if it works out. And if you kill that one real team, then you're kind of done with the game because there's only one real team in the lobby. So it's just a very interesting, it's a terrible situation, but you get what I'm saying. So the Arsenal boxes aren't necessarily ideal. Then you have the green boxes in COD Mobile, which they essentially just give you like a special weapon of some kind. It could be a thermal Arctic 50, it could be an Annihilator Specialist or Tempest Specialist weapon, or even a Purifier at one point in time. And they're definitely toned down. They're a lot weaker, but they're still viable options and usable in the game. Now, the actual, in my personal opinion, out of these two loadout systems, the better one is the Warzone Mobile loadout system because it includes perks, right? So the availability of perks to help you in situations like alert, right? So alert or tempered or restock or something like that. These perks help you a lot in this sort of environment where like alert lets me know that somebody is aiming at me from out of my direction, right? So once you see me get my loadout, you might see my screen light up yellow in one of the four corners, just like in COD Mobile, and it will ping that there's a person aiming at me from over there, right? And then I can turn on them, I can shoot them, I can run away, I can dive to cover, whatever I got to do. Now, that's a big thing in terms of like the overall feel of the game. Perks and lethals. So you do also get lethals in your loadout as well. So lethals and tacticals, how you use those effectively, stems, things of that nature, and an overall gameplay experience that definitely helps, generally speaking. Now, we also need to talk about how they perform. Right here, like you see me with the loadout gun for the rest of this game, this AMS. It's I think that the attachment system in this is far superior. I feel like it's more made for this game and it just feels right. Whereas Warzone or COD Mobile just feels a little off. It just kind of feels like it's not necessarily a natural BR anymore. It's more like it's being kind of pushed into Warzone. You know what I mean? Which is kind of fine. I think that is cool. But that's definitely, that's a whole different business discussion. Like, you know what I mean? You're trying to grow Warzone Mobile, but you're making COD Mobile BR into Warzone Mobile BR. So it's not really going to grow because you're making this one better. Whereas it's making up for the mistakes that it doesn't have in comparison to Warzone Mobile. So that's a whole different ball game. Something that I wanted to discuss in terms of the HUD for both these games. They're both absurd for a new player. I think COD Mobile is a little more realistic, but there's also a lot less to learn and do, right? So with the integration of Omni movement to Warzone Mobile, that adds in a whole different ball game of movement that you can't even it's absurd what Omni movement is in terms of what you can do from a movement perspective. So I'm a thumbs player. I don't have the ability to use movement to that degree. I use it more in a defensive manner or sliding out for an attacking manner, but I can't physically jump shot because it's just, I can't. I have to do like a jump shot with hip fire, essentially. So if you are in that sort of category of people, it doesn't necessarily change much for you. That's most of the community, right? A lot of times we forget that the majority of the community is the casual community, and the casual community plays with their thumbs, right? A lot of casuals do not play with 3 or 4 fingers or on an iPad. A lot of them play on their phone with their thumbs, and they play public matches. You know what I mean? They're not sweaty people. They're just your average Joe Schmo guy who hops on every once in a blue moon to play some Warzone or play some COD Mobile. So, I think that COD Mobile's HUD is a little more friendly to those kinds of people. And Warzone Mobile's HUD is more for the try hard, actually learning about the game, the ins and the outs, and like the benefits of how this stuff works. Now, TTK, let's talk about the TTK in both these games, man. It is an interesting TTK. I think they're both solid. I feel like you can get deleted depending on like what gun people are using. But for the most part, I feel like there are going to be meta weapons, generally speaking, but I feel like the TTK is kind of fine in both. My only exception to this rule is shotguns and COD Mobile BR are absolutely brokenly absurd. That is the only exception. Those things one shot at an insane range, and that needs to be nerfed ASAP Rocky style. That's all I got for that kind of aspect of the TTK. There are one-shot snipers in both, and I think that is a benefit to the game. Let's talk about the plate system. As you see me here, I'm putting on some plates in Warzone Mobile, and this guy's going to get hawked on. Anyway, plate system is superior to the COD Mobile plate system or even the COD Mobile adrenaline shot system from Season 1. The actual healing style of that game was not that great, but the plate system in Warzone Mobile it's an even playing field. Everybody gets 3 plates, right? And you can run a perk, I don't know if they've put it into the game yet, called Tempered, where you can get 2 plates instead of 3, so you don't have to use as many plates to heal, right? So that's a great system. It works phenomenal. It's even for everybody. Whereas, COD Mobile has the classes and how those sort of perform, like Refitter and Medic, plus your healing system. There's no stems in COD Mobile BR, so like if you get stuck in the gas or something, you're just chalked. You gotta hope somebody's got medics so you can all hop into it and then get back to the zone. It's just it's more of a natural style BR, which is totally fine. I'm just saying, like, I prefer this style more. I enjoy it a little bit more from like my point of view and how I enjoy the game. I feel like I'm enjoying this a little bit more than that natural style. Now let's talk about the Gulag, right? I'm going to the Gulag right now. Gulag is better than the tag system. The tag system in COD Mobile BR kind of blows. I hate it because people will sit on your tags, right? If they generally, like, you can count names and you'll generally know, hey, there's only one real team in the lobby. I'll just sit on these tags. When they come back to get their boy, I'll just shoot them, and then now it's a bot lobby. You know what I mean? And that kind of blows. It kind of sucks to play when it's that way. There's not really a fear of like the actual gameplay loop. It's just that's just how it is, and that sucks. So the Gulag system allows me to kind of control my own destiny, right? I die, I go to the Gulag, I gotta win a gunfight and a 1v1 against somebody in the shower, and if I win it, I'm free. If I lose it, then somebody's gotta buy me back. So let's dive into the buying back system, right? Buy stations. So buy stations are a huge W, right? That COD Mobile doesn't have, because I can actually go actively find people. I can go to a buy station, I could pop 3 UAVs and get an advanced UAV, or I could just pop 1 UAV and figure out where people are. It has a great system, and it really helps you to sort of maneuver the map faster, get higher kill games, and it's an overall better experience, whereas COD Mobile doesn't have that, right? The closest thing they have is a BR class called Scout, and you shoot a little sensor dart into one area, and it'll light up however many people are in that one area. That's fine. That's okay. But like it's not necessarily the best thing ever, but it kind of does the same thing. Like if you shoot it into the middle of launch base, you'll light up all of the launch base area to see if people are there, which is fine. That does enough, right? If you're in farm, you'll light up most of farm. You can see who's there. Standoff, any POI that you're in, if you shoot a sensor dart down in the middle of it, you'll cover enough of it to be able to see everybody that's there. Whereas a UAV is more like a normal UAV that kind of live tracks your people. An advanced UAV is phenomenal. It literally live tracks everything like a normal advanced UAV would. That's pretty much all I got for your streaks. I think that Warzone Mobile, a lot of the streaks that you have, like Spotter in COD Mobile, is already in Warzone Mobile as a streak that you can buy. So that kind of thing, like a precision airstrike or like a cluster strike of some kind, those are already in Warzone Mobile. But in COD Mobile, there's classes instead. So being able to at least have that sort of comparison is nice, and the ability to select that before the game gives it to you automatically, which is interesting to say the least. Now, I've kind of covered just about everything I wanted to discuss about locations and things of that nature, how the game plays, the grinding and the actual feel of this game overall. And the controller compatibility, I'll just touch on real quick. COD Mobile doesn't really have the best controller compatibility, but it works. It's good enough. Whereas Warzone Mobile feels like it's almost made for that. So it definitely has a huge draw to people who want to play on their controller. That's big for them. And then let's talk about future editions, some things that we could see coming in the near future with new maps, which are a big item to come to both of these games, COD Mobile and Warzone Mobile. Warzone Mobile already has Verdansk and Rebirth Island, which is essentially updated Alcatraz from COD Mobile. So Verdansk could get Al Mazrah, which is already leaked in the game files from Modern Warfare 2 2022, and Urzikstan and Ashika Island. Ashika Island will be a small map like Rebirth, and Urzikstan will be a big map like Verdansk. Then you got COD Mobile, which I think could see a couple items, but the main one I think that would come back to COD Mobile would be from the Vanguard time period. That would be Caldera. And there's another big map about the size of Blackout and Isolated, and it would play like another big map like one of those two. So those are some maps I think you could see coming in the future. There's a lot of weaponry that you'll see coming to those games, especially Warzone Mobile. With every new COD title to come out, they'll get those new guns, so that's pretty dope. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications if you want to. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm out. Peace!